Why doesn't God just forgive us all? Well, before I answer that question, I want to answer an implicit question that underlies it. Why doesn't God just forgive any of us? That is, if God is gracious, and He is, and God is all-powerful, and He is, and God is the standard of right and wrong, and He is, then doesn't He have the authority and the power, and given His grace, even the inclination to simply ignore our sins? To forgive them, if you will, with a simple wave of the hand. I forgive you. I'm not going to hold any of this against you. And from that, couldn't He do that with everyone? Well, it depends on what we mean by couldn't He, doesn't it? There's one sense in which it's absolutely true. There's nothing above Him keeping Him from doing this. There is, however, something within Him keeping Him from doing this, and that is His nature. God, friends, just like us, will always act according to His nature. And it is true that He's all-powerful. It is true that He's a standard of right and wrong. And it is true that He is gracious. But it is also true that He is just. The forgiveness that I don't have because God said, oh, don't worry about it. The forgiveness that I have because, cosmically speaking, the scales of justice have been equalized by the suffering of Jesus for me and for all those whose sins are forgiven. This is why in Romans chapter 5, God is called both just and justifier. Justifier, we're used to thinking in those terms. Yes, He's the one who has declared me to be just. He's the justifier. But Paul makes the point that He's also just. How in the world could God be just to call me just when in myself I'm not just? Well, the reason God is just to do so is because of my union with Christ. My sins have been punished. And the reality, friends, is that all sins must be punished for God to be God. His grace doesn't undo His justice. So why doesn't He do this for everyone? For the exact same reason, because that would not be consistent with who He is, with His character. The question itself suggests that somehow forgiveness is something that God owes us. But from the very beginning, God has been quick to affirm over and over again, I will show mercy on whom I will show mercy. I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. Because once you make this required, necessary, the only right thing to do, it's no longer mercy, it's justice. Clearer still in Romans chapter 9, when the Apostle Paul asked the question, recognizing God's sovereignty over all things, why does He still find fault? Why does God judge us? Why does He still find fault? For who can resist His will? In his answer, Paul says, what if God, wanting to make known His glory, He prepared for destruction vessels fit for destruction? What I want you to understand, what Paul is saying here in Romans chapter 9, is that God makes known, makes manifest, makes visible His glory in the just punishment of sinners. He manifests his glory in his grace, in the redemption of those who are his. He manifests the glory of his wrath in the judgment of those that he has passed over. God doesn't just forgive us all because he's God.